Hey, everybody. This is amazing. Just give yourself a round of applause for coming out in the rain for this. This is absolutely fantastic. My name's Bob Coomber. I'm the ANC for Kingman Park, and it includes this area and just across those gorgeous parking lots over there. We couldn't be more excited about this. I've got a family of 4 boys, and we just love to come out here and let them just get out their energy in nature. It's just an amazing thing. I'm also a board member for the Friends of Kingman and Heritage Island, and we're really excited about moving forward as an organization to advocate for the preservation and investment in these islands. We're really excited to see that move forward. I'm saying excited a lot. This is especially important for our neighborhood in Kingman Park, as well as River Terrace, east of the river, making this an accessible location. And I'm especially excited today to be able to introduce our mayor, who I understand has an announcement about the islands that we are just thrilled to hear. And so I guess without further ado, Mayor Muriel Bowser, let's give her a hand.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here with you. And even though it's a little rainy, it's not 9 degrees. So that's a very good thing. Let me acknowledge all of our team members who are here, especially our wonderful leadership at the Department of Energy and the Environment, Tommy Wells. Let's give Tommy a big round of applause. Let me acknowledge all of our staff at the Department of Energy and in the Environment who do a bang-up job every single day, making sure that we earn, and since we were the first LEED Platinum city in the world, we want to continue to distinguish ourselves as such. Let me also welcome Julie Lawson, who is new to our team, and she is now the director of the Clean City for Washington, D.C. And she's somewhere. There she is. There's Julie. And I want to acknowledge a member of the council who's here as well, Charles Allen. Thank you, Charles, for being here with us today. I also see Mr. Muhammad, who is from Councilmember Gray's office, and all the Ward 6 and Ward 7 communities who are here with us today. Give yourselves a round of applause. So we are in, Bob, you're right. I do have a big announcement. Where did Bob go? So why don't I just get right to it? I was going to give you a long introduction about how fantastic we are, but I'm going to leave that to Tommy to talk about all of the things we've been doing around sustainability in the environment over the last 3 years. But we are here today for a special designation, and I don't believe I've done anything like this in my time as mayor. So this is special. I want to designate today portions of Kingman and Heritage Islands, where we are, as a state conservation area. And with that, we will establish in the District of Columbia the southern portion of Kingman Island as a critical wildlife area. And we know how important that is to protect the natural areas of our city and the wildlife that grows here. We know that we have changed the environment such that now we have wildlife that hadn't been able to thrive in D.C. that now can. And Tommy is also going to talk a little bit more about that. With this designation, I am also pleased to make an additional investment of $4.7 million for educational and recreational improvements on the islands. Now, when I look around this pier, it looks like a lot of people have some ideas about what we can do, and that's exactly what we need. We need great ideas. So let me thank Ranger Vince for also being here, one of our federal partners from the National Park Service, Doug Siglin from the Anacostia Waterfront Trust. Thank you, Doug, for being here. Melissa Fries from the River Terrace Community Association, and Lee Kane from the Living Classrooms. So I would now like to acknowledge some other speakers to talk to you about all the things that we're doing in Washington, D.C., and all the things that we must do to continue to distinguish not only our city, but our nations in the community of nations that are focused on climate change and how we protect our earth. So we're going to hear from Tommy Wells, but before we do that, I'd like to acknowledge Councilmember Charles Allen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mayor. 2018 we're calling this the year of the Anacostia, and could you guys think of a better way to kick it off? No. This is fantastic. Ms. Mayor, this has been years in the making, but I'm really proud that you're the mayor that's making this happen. I'm really grateful that you're making this declaration today because these are really special places in our city. You cannot find this really anywhere else. I know as a nearby neighbor, I just live a couple of blocks on that side. And I come out here both just to go for a walk. Maybe sometimes I'll come take my dog. I've also got a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. You heard Bob talk about burning off some energy. I've brought my daughter out here. We've done everything from just go on a hike to just take a walk to working with DOEE in the programming where they were helping capture and study bats. This is a just special place in our city that you forget the hustle and bustle and you realize you're right on the river. You're right in this just magnificent place. And the steps that are being taken today, I think, are just phenomenal for the future of this space. And this is legacy type stuff. I mean, this is the type of thing that helps make sure this is here for my kids, my grandkids, and generations beyond. And it also holds a special place for the river in that this is the place where Ward 6 and Ward 7 comes together. And we talk frequently about all the different ways we want to try to help bridge the river and help have our neighborhoods come together. This is a place where it literally happens, right here where Ward 6 and 7 come together. So I'm thrilled to be here, thrilled to join so many people in celebrating this moment today, and excited for what the future holds. And the investment the mayor's making is a great one for the future of this island, but also for the future of just environmental education and the future of the river and the islands in our city. So I'm really glad and I'm very appreciative. So thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm now very pleased to, Charles said that we were kicking off the year of the Anacostia today, but I have news for him. We kicked it off on January the 1st in 12 degrees at the Fresh Start 5K at Anacostia Park. And we thought that maybe people wouldn't come because it was so cold, and over 700 people came to run the 5K on the Anacostia Park. But now it brings me just extreme delight to welcome Tommy Wells to the podium to talk about our efforts across our agencies and with the Department of Energy and Environment to make our city the greenest city in the world. Tommy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much, Mayor. Let me say that in walking with some of you across the bridge and then seeing all of you here, that the amount of excitement and energy about today that you would come out in this very cold, rainy day, and you are, well, okay, not very cold, but you represent hundreds, if not thousands of people. There's so many organizations that are here and so much work that has been done over the years. When you think of all the different trash cleanups up all around the island and down the river and up the river happening every year with your organizations and the volunteer organizations, the number of residents that have come, whether it be Earth Day, and often, as the mayor likes to say, every day should be Earth Day, that you have really done and come so far to now that we're at a place where we're designating a critical wildlife area, a conservation area. We're investing in this, as Councilmember Allen says, a legacy project that the mayor's kicking off now, something that we'll be proud of for years to come, so that our young people can come to wild areas, an area where they can learn about the osprey, the fox, all the different wildlife that come here. And the fact that we're in our 4th generation now, after an absence of 50 years of eagles being and nesting in Washington, D.C., we're on our 4th generation. And the ones in the Arboretum, they feed solely off the Anacostia River. We have been making progress. So, Mayor, I want to say that we've got the best team of biologists, of wildlife managers, of conservationists, environmentalists, working in tandem with DEMPED, working in tandem with Office of Planning, with Parks and Rec, with our DC employees that have helped make today happen, raise your hands. You guys are terrific. They do everything, everybody, from counting fish, like how many snakehead per acre, and things like that. They tell me there's over 270 species of birds that come through here, that you've got really one of the best wildlife teams in the country. Also want to acknowledge, as we're going to make this investment in really making the island a learning center for our young people and a place for respite for all of us, that this really started. This is the 15-year anniversary of the Anacostia framework. We have a history, and we're making good on the plans that have been made, and many of you have been a part of that, and I could not be prouder of that. So with that, we've got a great partner in the National Park Service. We're working together to remediate the sediment of the river, and the partnership could not be any clearer or better metaphor than the fact that the district government and the citizens of D.C. own the water of the Anacostia, and the Park Service owns the riverbed. That's a close partnership. Ranger Vince?
Thank you very much. Standing here on Kingman Island, this is the second place named after Kingman, who was the head of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at one time. One is this Kingman Island, here in the mighty Anacostia River, in the center of the nation's capital. The other Kingman is a pass in an obscure park called Yellowstone that I've heard of here and there, you know. But here we are in the Anacostia Centennial. And when we have a centennial, you know, what makes 100 years special? Is it because it's old and it's 100? Is it, I mean, why is 100 better than 99 or 101? Is it because we like round numbers? I think what a centennial does is it wakes us up from our historical amnesia that sets in over time. Amnesia, things like we forget that 40,000 veterans back in 1932 camped on the banks of the Anacostia to protest for veterans' rights that ultimately resulted in better rights for our World War I veterans and the GI Bill. Historical amnesia that a great statesman, but also a great naturalist who appreciated picking up Native American artifacts and studying the different plants along the Anacostia. His name was Frederick Douglass. Yes, he was the great abolitionist. Yes, he was the great activist, but he appreciated the natural history of this river, Frederick Douglass. Amnesia, the great pool integration riot of 1949 that broke down the last barriers towards segregation in public recreation in the District of Columbia, here on the banks of the Anacostia. Amnesia, the great naturalists who came here in the early 20th century and late 19th century to this area right here to study the birds, some of the famous naturalists that then went back into Audubon societies in the District of Columbia that pushed for the Lacey Act that preserved thousands of species of migratory birds. The greatest act defending the migratory bird species was passed because of naturalists who got their inspiration here on the banks of the Anacostia River. Historical amnesia. And so, Mayor, what you've done is you helped to wake us up from this historical amnesia by designating this critical area that we have right here to wake us up to the importance of the Anacostia River. As the famous quote is, it is the great natural areas in which humans and cultural history grip and form themselves. If you think about that, everything about our human culture can link back to the natural area. Or perhaps in more straightforward, common sense terms, the health of the people is linked to the health of the river. It is that simple. And so as we stand, thank you. And as we stand here today, I talked a little bit about history. Maybe we're going to wake up from that historical amnesia. But what's glorious about today is what we're doing here today. Mayor, what you have paved the way for, DOEE paved the way for, Watershed Trust and all our other partners, Living Classrooms, is we are making history today. Thank you very much.
Every community needs a ranger, Vince, don't you think? Just to remind us so we don't have amnesia. So one person who does not have amnesia is Doug Siglin. Doug Siglin with Anacostia Waterfront Trust and in other iterations before that is one of the greatest champions for the Anacostia River I have ever met. And if you ever, we should have you around the campfire sometimes, Doug, just to tell stories. You know more about the Anacostia than anyone I know. So Doug, if you would like to join me.
Thank you so much. I drew the short straw having to follow Vince. My Lord. Yeah, I know, I can do that, but I'm not going to do it here. Actually, I just want to be a little bit more sober about this. When I look out and see you folks, I probably know 2/3 of you. And the 2/3 of you that I know here have been working on this stuff for a really long time. And we could be here all day if I was calling you out by name. I want to just do this. I want to call out one person who's way in the back. He's modest. He's standing back there. Lex Sant. Because the Sant family, his mom and dad, Roger and Vicki Sant, have been funding the work on the Anacostia through their private philanthropy for about 20 years. And so much of what we've done is because of the Sant family. So they're very modest people. He's probably mortified that I'm even recognizing him, but please know that there have been philanthropists out there that have been really doing good stuff for a long time. I also want to just point out Reverend Kitchen, who had a wonderful op-ed in the Washington Post in October that I think gave us a lot of momentum for here today. And finally, and they don't know I'm going to do this, I want to call out Addie and Bash. I want you to put your hands up if you can. Addie, put your hand up. These are the kids that it's all about. Kids and other kids like that in Ward 6, in Ward 5, in Ward 7, Ward 8. And the other wards of the city are going to be the ones that are going to inherit the good work we're doing here. So thank you all very much. And Mayor Bowser, thank you so much for your leadership on this.
Thank you, Doug. Well, it's a fact of life and democracy that elected officials come and go, but which does not come and go are neighborhoods, communities. It's the communities that protect our assets, that hold us accountable for being sure the assets are well cared for, and that they're celebrated. And so the fairly new organization, the Friends of Heritage in Kingman Island, we have someone from the neighborhood who has been holding me accountable and holding a lot of us accountable to be sure that we engage the neighborhood and our residents as we should. Melissa Fries from the River Terrace Community Organization.
Hi, I know everyone wants me to keep this short. I'll try. I really will. But thank you so much for asking me to speak today. It feels like we're kind of honoring the spirits of Mr. Gurley, who was an early River Terrace resident. Well, he was a resident in the 90s, and he was one of the people who fought for the islands to not be amusement parks. And he was an ANC and a president of the River Terrace Community Organization. So I hope they're smiling down through this rain to us. The River Terrace neighbors have a special affinity to the Anacostia River and the Kingman and Heritage Islands. When the Department of Energy and Environment Feasibility Study was introduced to us in October at our meeting, there were stories of birds and wildlife and coming over here and having excursions and cleanups with the Sierra Club. So it has been a part of River Terrace since River Terrace was built back in the 40s. And it doesn't matter, again, gender, color. People have been out here and they've cleaned and they've worked with this island, and they've been around this island when it wasn't in great shape. So it's really, really wonderful to have the mayor and the administration decide to commit and to invest in this island. But for too long, the Anacostia River has been defined by what it separates. So the time has come for us to change the narrative and focus on what the Anacostia River can do and how it will bring us together. Oh, thank you. These islands have the potential to become a conservation destination and unifying gateway for district residents to learn of available, accessible, and affordable options for the environmental education, conservation, sustainability, and engagement for residents of all 8 wards. Revitalizing Kingman and Heritage Islands will encourage district youth to explore and contribute to a new vision of the world outside their windows and beneath their feet. Better at appreciating nature while introducing a fresh perspective to an underexposed industry, not to mention presenting new career options to young people that were previously unconsidered or traditionally restricted by race, class, culture, education, gender, and geography. I do want to point out our River Terrace Education Campus. They have sent their horticulture class over here, so they've come over the river and through the woods, and they're here, and thank you so much for coming over. They work with Anacostia Watershed. They do plantings. I was complaining about the rain to their teacher, Kelly, and he's like, oh, we're out here all the time in the rain and everything. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for bringing your students over. Really, to close, Mayor Bowser, thank you. The investment in the Kingman and Heritage Islands through the DOEE feasibility study shows the District of Columbia is putting its money where its mouth is and is committed to environmental stewardship. Thank you for your administration's commitment, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Good job. Melissa, thank you so much for bringing our horticulture students over and seeing that they joined us today. And it is about what this is all about. So thank you very much. So the government in its wisdom has contracted over the years with Living Classrooms. Living Classrooms serves many of our young people, getting them outdoors, getting them active, and doing things where they can learn about stewardship of our great environment. And Living Classrooms, I do want to acknowledge, has hired Lee Kane, who's spent here 2 or 3 years, at least 2 or 3 years. Lee Kane's the guy that sometimes it's almost like a Victorian novel. You see him walking by in the mist, by himself out here, as if it's he's contemplating life. But actually, he is the organizer that when we do work out here, when our DOEE folks come out here, countless hours removing invasive species. I think honeysuckle shows up in Damien's dreams. He's always marshaling all of us to remove the invasive honeysuckle from the island. But Living Classrooms has done a great job, and we are very proud to have them as a partner. And the head of Living Classrooms came down from Baltimore today. We have James Bond.
Well, Tommy, on behalf of Living Classrooms and Lee Kane, there is nobody who works harder. I mean, this guy, day in and day out, 7 days a week, he bleeds this island. He lives Kingman Island. He is so committed, and we are just so honored to have him as our lead man on the team here. And Lee, I just want to thank you for everything you do every day, because it's so exciting. It's kind of emotional for us, Mayor, because we've worked really hard for the last 8-9 years on this island, and with Doug and the councilman, I've known Vince for decades, to have this happen under your leadership. And Tommy, you talk about somebody who's been committed to this for decades. He had the idea of the Bluegrass Festival, and we started with a couple hundred people, and now we have 10,000 to come out to. But that's a one day. But we want to have thousands and thousands of children come and stay out of the rain, because we're now going to have a pavilion. We're going to have this amazing Living Classroom dock with microscopes that kids, your horticultural class will be able to experience on a daily basis. We're going to have bathrooms. Believe it or not, we've never really had bathrooms. So, that's amazing. We're going to have a bus turnaround so we can save kids from having to walk half hour each, back and forth. They can come and spend that hour actually being in a Living Classroom program. So it's those kind of amenities that you're now allowing to happen. It's going to be critical, so it's going to be an amazing experience for these children, for the adults, for the families, for the community, and we're just honored to be working in partnership with you, Mayor, Doug, Tommy, everyone that's here. Again, we work with most everyone here, and let's all move forward, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, in the year of the Anacostia, and full speed ahead.
Thank you very much. So in closing, let me say that under Mayor Bowser's leadership, this administration has really accomplished things and taken leadership in ways that we didn't even expect we would have to. As we've lost a federal partner on global warming, Mayor Bowser has stepped up and on behalf of our city, spoken to the rest of the world to say that our values don't change with one election. We're stewards of this planet. And then we bring it down to more of a micro level today, that under Mayor Bowser's leadership, we're doing something that really should have been done quite a while ago, and that's protecting the wildlife and protecting and conserving places like Kingman Island. So we're part of something very special today. We've got an excellent administration under the leadership of Mayor Bowser. And then speaking of leadership, the great Damien Ossie, Damien, because it's not raining, will be leading tours of the island. Anybody that's dressed with it with the proper footwear that would like to find out more about, I don't know if he's going to show you the elusive endangered Virginia mallow, but he may show you other things that you never thought you would find on the island today. And very good. So yes, we also have communications, and so I'm going to invite the mayor up now for any questions from the press.
Okay, we'll take some. Tommy, we'll take your questions down. Yeah, press first, and please identify yourself.
Hi, Mayor. Adam Allington with Bloomberg Environment.
Hi, Adam.
I'm just curious your take on, in D.C. doesn't have a lot of undeveloped green space. Rock Creek Park is really what most people know. Could you just talk about what it means to have something available even that's this big that hasn't been developed?
And that's a good question, and it may surprise you. But when a lot of times when people come to visit us from around the world, they're struck by how green our city is. And in many ways, we have protected our landscape in that we have buildings that are a little lower. We have wide and prominent boulevards. We have circles that are green, but we also have great expanses that aren't in the federal core because, of course, we have the National Mall, but we have the beautiful Rock Creek Park and Fort DuPont Park and the Arboretum. So we have many pretty large expanses of green space, and some others that you might not think about, like the Armed Forces Retirement Home that's kind of right in the center of the city. That's also a big green space. The National Park Service owns 3 golf courses in our city that are green space, that are programmed for sport. And we would like to return some other spaces. You'll look behind me somewhere and see a big stadium that's surrounded by concrete right now. And we like to see that more productively used, including adding green space back to Rock Creek, to RFK. You notice I say productively used, so a lot of things. And it is important that we focus on areas just like this. You heard Councilmember Allen say, and I heard others say, that neighbors in Ward 6 and Ward 7 will want to come here. The truth is that neighbors from all over the city want to come here, and that is how we should look as we make our educational resources. This is a resource for the entire city. We, however, think that not enough people have discovered it. You heard some barriers to people being able to come and enjoy it. And so this designation is important not only for today, but how the department, how the administration focuses on budgeting, how we focus on different initiatives, programming, like you heard, I think that was generated in the Ward 6 Council office, a great festival that has become a critical piece to how we use the island. And also when we think about other projects that might impact it, can we increase the connectivity to the island? I think that is going to be extremely important. So I guess the more succinct answer to your question is we're not growing any more precious land like this. We're grateful for it, and we're going to do everything in our power to preserve it for generations to come, for the next centennial. Bicentennial. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Jacob Fenston,
Please tell me your name.
Sorry, Jacob Fenston, WAMU. I was just wondering if you could sort of explain this idea of the year of the Anacostia. Why is 2018 the year of the Anacostia?
I would be happy to. And this is a partnership, and I'm going to invite Councilmember Allen to also talk about it. We have some key dates. The celebration of Anacostia Park. We have a 200 year, I think, related to Frederick Douglass. Let me get you exactly the key dates that we're focusing on for the year of the Anacostia. And Charles, you can make your way to the front. because the council has a piece of legislation which we are supporting that would help us celebrate. But mostly we have been focused on Anacostia Park and its key anniversary.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And when you think about 2018, it's as if the stars just kind of all aligned on 2018. As you've heard, it's the 100th anniversary of Anacostia Park. It's the 200th birthday of Frederick Douglass, who was the lion of the Anacostia. It's the 50th anniversary of Summer in the Parks, which is something the National Park Service has helped lead. We're hosting the All-Star Game on the shores of the Anacostia River later this summer. DC United's opening a new home. Hopefully we'll break ground on what the mayor was talking about right behind us. There's so many things that are just all aligned within 1 year. And so much hard work from so many people has gone into improving the health of the Anacostia River. So much hard work has made it to where this is what we want it to be. It's a helpful thing to help celebrate that. And so the Year of the Anacostia just gives us opportunities all along the year to help lift up and celebrate all the hard work of the Anacostia River as well as its watershed. We've been working in partnership clearly with the mayor on this. Also, Prince George's County has helped take steps in this regard. So it's just a really great way to help celebrate the Anacostia all year long.
Question?
My name is Sophia, and I want to make an option
What can we do to keep our community clean? That's a great question. And I think there are a lot of options. You see some community folks that are that are just behind us and around us on all sides that have a lot of cleanups and opportunities. I introduced Ms. Lawson a little bit earlier, who is my director for the Clean City. So her job is to figure out how we can remove trash, not only from our riverbanks, but from communities, because that trash then oftentimes ends up in the river. So I think there are a lot of opportunities that we would like to share with your school and your teachers to get things done. But on that note, let's do our tours. Thank you, everybody.